Hello and welcome to another edition of the C Squared Podcast. This is your host Curtis with my co-host Holly Royal, all the way from Britain. She is dressed up today as Freddy Krueger with the hat. Just in time for yeah, we'll go with Freddy Krueger. She is doing the theme of dressing up each day that she's on this podcast until Halloween hits. And for this special occasion, we're going to talk about pre-sales and a little bit about pre-saves. Now, just to start off, I don't know much about pre-saves. Holly knows a little bit about pre-saves because her band Disconnected Souls has been running a bit of a pre-save campaign. I want to point out neither one of us are experts when it comes to pre-saves. I do know quite a bit about pre-orders though. And I think Holly knows a fair bit because she just ran a campaign around a pre-order for Disconnected Souls, so I would imagine she also knows. So take it with a grain of salt when we're talking about the pre-saves, but the pre-sales, we know a little teeny bit of stuff about. So for starters, let's go over what the definition of a pre-sale is. Holly, the PhD student, tell people what a pre-save is, or pre-sale is.
I'm just going to clarify, my PhD is not in pre-sales.
Doesn't matter. We're still claiming that you have we're still stating you have a PhD.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, so a pre-sale is basically where you set it up so people can order your merch, your music, whether it's physical or digital, ahead of release, basically. Cool. So it's a good way to get money coming in and make sure you're getting orders fulfilled.
Yes. Okay, so now let's talk about Disconnected Souls, since this is the band that you are familiar with the most. So when you guys did the pre-order for Warring Elements for the re-release, correct me if I'm wrong, you ordered the CDs prior to setting up the pre-order, correct or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got to remember, or not we got to remember, but people have to remember that before you set a release date, if you haven't ordered your CDs or your vinyl or your tapes, and you're planning on having that being part of your release date, and not just putting out the digital version, you have to make sure that they're going to arrive on time. Mm-hmm. You get to talk about this for a minute here, Holly.
Okay. Yeah, it's important because ideally you want to be posting out any pre-orders at least the day of release. I would personally do it a little bit before, actually. So we posted our sort of worldwide orders a week before. Just because we knew they were going to take a bit longer to get there. So it's kind of, you don't want to keep people waiting once they've already ordered the thing maybe a month or 2 months before they're actually going to get it anyway.
Yep. So, okay, so you did it a week in advance. That was for worldwide, but for the UK ones, you just shipped them?
I did it on the release day, because I knew it would get there within 1 or 2 days.
You know what's really fucking creepy?
Go on.
Okay. While we're talking, I just saw an email pop up from CD Baby. Somehow I'm on their email list, and it's saying when, basically it's talking about what we're talking about. Fucking creepy.
They're listening to us. Damn it.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. Okay, so yeah, so make sure that you do that. So now where you want to have your pre-orders listed. So there's a few places. Numero uno, you want to have Bandcamp. Bandcamp's pretty easy to do. So you need WAV files to set it up. Obviously you need to have a PayPal account. You need to have your art, you need to have your band photo, and you also need to make sure that you put not only your digital on there, but your physical as well. Because even though Bandcamp are jerks and they take a large portion of the fees, yes, Bandcamp is a jerk, you should still have it there just because you can miss sales if you only have Big Cartel. Can you talk about that for a brief second, Holly?
Yeah, one thing that I should probably mention actually is you can't do a pre-order for physical items without a pre-order for the digital, if that makes sense. So you've got to set up the digital album and then you can attach CDs or t-shirts, whatever else you want to afterwards. Yep. I know you're saying Bandcamp's a jerk, but I really like it because it's easy to use, and I find it really easy to sort of direct traffic there for us. I mean, because we don't have our own fully functioning website at the moment, so it's like a really good alternative.
Yep.
And it gives you a lot of control over what you do, so you can put as much biographical and detailed information about the release in there as you want, which I highly recommend that you do.
Agreed. But it is a jerk. It is a jerk. You gotta admit, they take a lot in fees, which is kind of stupid. But Big Cartel does have a few less fees. Do you guys have Big Cartel?
No, the only other thing we use is Teespring for print-on-demand t-shirts and stuff.
That's right, I forgot. can we talk about just for a brief second about print on demand and pre-orders? I don't know if you run pre-orders with that or not, but if you do.
It's not something I've tried yet. It's something I'd like to try at some point. I just need to look it up a bit more.
Sorry, I put myself on mute because I had to cough and I
Right.
forgot. Okay, so you haven't done it. So, but can you kind of go over how you could, since you are familiar with Teespring?
I mean, I say this, I'm assuming that you can create a design and just have it so that they won't ship until a certain date. I'm assuming, yeah, that's how it should work. So, I mean, that can be a good way to sort of beef up your release a bit, you know, if you have like a limited edition design or something that goes with a particular single or an album, things like that. So it is worth.
Go ahead.
I think it's worth doing just because you can get, you know, an extra little bit of cash, hopefully, if you do it.
I agree. Okay, so now let's talk about promoting the pre-sale. Unless did we forget something about the little setup part of it, or no?
Well, we've covered Bandcamp, which I think is the main one.
Yeah. Big Cartel is pretty easy to set up, to my understanding. I haven't used it myself, but from everybody that I've talked to, I think you can only have up to 5 items. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 5 items if you're doing the free one. I've never tried. I don't know anybody that uses Shopify other than Lindsay and someone else that does. I can't remember, but I don't know much about Shopify. But if you have any questions about that, let us know, and we will have Lindsay Schoolcraft on at some point to tell us about Shopify. I think she knows Shopify. I'm pretty sure it's Shopify she has it on, but or I'm talking on my ass. I don't know. But let's talk about promoting a pre-sale. So the main ways that you got, we can go into each point, but I just want to go over them rapidly. So you got email, you got Bandcamp, obviously, you got social media. So you got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What the fuck else do you got? You could use magazines. You can use interviews.
Put it in your press release if you're doing a PR campaign.
Yeah,
make sure you give it to your publicist if you're doing a PR campaign.
Yeah. Oh, hold up one second here. I want to point out one thing. We are probably the only people that do that.
I must say, I have noticed a lot of other people don't do it, which I'm very surprised at, actually.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's not always going to work that great unless you have a song with it. But let's talk about this for a brief second, because this is actually a very good point, because we do press releases about pre-orders, but at the same time, you usually need to tie it in with a song release.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, if you're going to do pre-orders, you should have released at least one track or a video or something like that. So let's go back to you guys for an example. I think when we did the re-release, you took the digital off Bandcamp, did you not, or am I misremembering?
Yes. Yeah, because I set up the pre-order with CDs, so it took the digital off and put it all together.
Did you release, I can't remember, did you release the song or did we fuck that up?
We fucked that up, didn't we?
Do we? I think we did. Okay,
I mean, we released though, our stuff was on streaming platforms.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to.
I wasn't taking it off to put it back on again.
Yeah. So the point is that Holly still had a place where you could stream the tracks. It was just we messed up and put it on Bandcamp.
I mean, is Petrichor a better example because we've got the teaser video?
Well, that's.
Or is that?
Let's go into that in a minute. Let's finish up Alpha. Yeah, let's go into that in a minute here, because now we're going to be going on a different tangent if we do that. So okay, so with the pre-order, have a song of, because the reason why you want to do that is because it makes it newsworthy. Because Joe Blow band that no one has ever heard of just releasing a pre-order nobody gives a fuck about. But Joe Blow band releasing a song and they have a pre-order available, people will give a fuck about. So if you're in a band, make sure that you have a song available when you do your pre-orders, because if you don't, no one's going to give a crap. So, okay, so now promoting it. So if you do the press release, you always got to have a song there. Also, you're going to want to make sure that you make a post and you pin it onto your Facebook. You do it on your Twitter. And you want to do a video so that way you can post it to TikTok and Instagram. And you also want to make sure that you have the pre-order in your link tree. Am I forgetting anywhere, Holly? I think I'm forgetting somewhere, but where am I forgetting if so?
Mailing list. Well, I'd send it out to a mailing list. once your pre-order goes live.
I was getting to that next. You're skipping.
I'm skipping ahead, sorry.
You're moving ahead. You keep moving ahead on me. Good thing I made notes before this. For anybody listening, we did not make notes. So email, let's talk about the email for a second. So if you have an email list, you want to send it to everybody that's previously purchased or signed up for your mailing list. Now, Holly, have you done this before with the mailing list or no?
Yes, I finally set up a proper MailChimp landing page for our mailing list. So we're actually having a few more people on the list now, which is always helpful.
Okay, so some people, what they'll do is that they'll offer their list a small discount on the pre-order. Some people will do that. You don't have to do that if you want, but you should always make sure that you email your list. And if you're sending something to your list, you want to try to make it somewhat special. So if it's like CDs or something like that, you should maybe try to have an incentive of like a autograph CD or something like that in order to get people to want to buy it. So can you kind of go over some best practices for mailing lists, Holly, before we move on to singles?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with mailing lists is obviously don't spam, because that's going to put people off really quickly. So you want to offer people things that may be a little bit unique, you know, they're not going to get it elsewhere. You want to, if you're sending out an email, it kind of has to have a purpose, I think. So it's either, you're advertising that you've got a new single coming out, maybe you've got a new piece of merch coming out, something like that, or you've had a really specific review that you want to share. Things like that work quite well.
Yep. Okay, cool. I thought you were going to say something else, so I was waiting.
I was thinking, and I've run out of things.
No worries, no worries. Okay, is there anything else you want to cover on that before we move on to the singles?
I mean, this is probably fairly obvious, but obviously if people unsubscribe from your mailing list, don't add them back on.
Yep.
I'm just mentioning that because, I mean, obviously, like in the UK and Europe, we have really strict data protection laws, but I know some other countries don't. So I'm aware that maybe bans in those countries might not realize that it's a problem.
I think in pretty much every country nowadays, it's probably going to be a problem.
Yeah. Right,
unless I think they're a little bit laxer there, but I could be mistaken. Okay, let's move on to the singles. So common question, common problem with Bandcamp is that most people will tell you you can't upload a single to Bandcamp for pre-order. And this is not true. And it even tells you this on the Bandcamp frequently asked questions. So what you want to do is you want to upload it as an album.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you go to add new album, I think is what it is. And instead of putting on like 6 tracks or 4 tracks or 3 tracks, you just put in 1 track and then you can make it into a pre-order. So Holly, can you go over this since you just recently did this yourself?
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Basically, you're creating an album, but it's just for that 1 track. And it works perfectly well. So definitely make sure that you're doing it and make sure that you do get a pre-order link from it as well, because that's really important to share around.
Cool. Also, so how did you kind of spiffy up your single pre-order, if you did? Looked spiffy to me.
Looks spiffy.
Looks spiffy.
What did I do that's spiffy? I don't know.
I thought it looked really well put together and everything like that. So I don't know, like, did you do something? I'm asking you because it looks spiffy to me. So I thought you did something.
I mean, we put loads of information with it.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, it's like we have obviously got the artwork there. We've got all of the production credits on it. Yep. I might not have actually put the lyrics on it, but I will be putting the lyrics on it at some point if they're not there already.
You didn't. What you did do, just so that way you got a total reminder, so that way you know what I'm talking about. I thought this looked spiffy, and I thought this made it look good. Is that the way you presented it is it does look like it's an album, because you put like a little description about the track, so it was like a paragraph long, and then you put like all of the different credits on there and stuff as well. So most treat a single as kind of being an afterthought when they do this, but you made it look like it was like an actual album. The only thing you're missing that I would add it in there just as an aside. No, you're not missing it. I'm just stupid. Never mind.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say make sure you add in the social links, but they're on the side. I forgot. I didn't realize wasn't thinking properly, and I forgot that Bandcamp puts everything on the side.
Yeah, they're a bit weird.
Yeah. So don't worry about that. Other than that, I think you laid it out extremely well, and I think that's what most bands should do. So try to have like a little paragraph, and then also make sure that you have like all the credits on there as well. And one other thing, I don't know if you've tried this before, but I want to talk about this really quickly here. One thing that can also help drive sales is if you give away some free download codes. Because I think, who was it that was on the podcast that talked about this before? I think it was Brad from who writes for Bandcamp sometimes. It might have been someone else. If you give away free download codes, it shows up under your supported by thing. Yeah, and it looks good because more people have it in their thing. It doesn't necessarily say that anybody's purchased it, but it just shows that more people have checked out the track or the album. I'm not sure how that works with pre-orders, but I do know that if you put that, if you send out a bunch of download codes and people download it, it does show up in their library, and it gives the appearance of like more support, which is cool. So and the more people that listen to something, the more other people usually want to check it out. So I'm not trying to say don't pretend you're making sales. I'm just saying it looks to other people like,
yeah, no, that's a good idea. I haven't tried that yet, actually.
Winning idea. Maybe you'll make some more sales as a result of that. Like I said, I don't know if that's going to work for a single or not, but it will work for an album for anybody who wants to test that out. And I think it was Brad Sanders who said that on a past podcast. If anybody's listening and wants to correct me and tell me it was someone else, feel free to do so. What else do we want to talk about pre-orders, Holly? We've covered a lot.
Oh God, I'm trying to think now. Are there any, I guess, have you experienced any like major faux pas that bands have done with pre-orders? That might be worth highlighting.
Well, to me, I don't like this, and I think it's stupid when bands do this. They'll do this with both pre-orders and after the albums come out. You're using our mug.
I am using the mug. It's my inappropriate plants mug. Yep. Great. It's got dodgy looking plants.
I just realized we got you that. But anyway, so the major faux pas that I've seen is when bands will just randomly send the music to people that have not asked for it and ask them to purchase. I don't mean people. How do I want to put this? Because I think it's okay to DM somebody if they previously purchased your music and ask them to purchase again. I think that's okay. Because it's someone that's actively supported you in the past. I see no reason not to do that. What I do think is weird is like me, I'll be sitting there minding my own business, and then I'll get a DM from somebody saying, "Hey, support my band, pre-order," and I have no idea who this fucking person is. I've never listened to their music. Maybe they've added me as a friend once. I don't know anything about them. To me, that's just weird. I don't think you should be doing that. And I know some bands will do that on Twitter and they'll do that on Instagram. And the reason why I know this is because I get those messages all the time. And I'm just looking at it going like, this is kind of weird to me, but it might work sometimes. So I don't think people should be doing that. At the same time, I think it depends, because I have seen that work for people. So yeah, it depends. But I think that's like the major thing. And then the other thing too is I've also seen people make posts whining about the pre-release, saying not many people have purchased. I don't think that's a good idea to do that. Yeah, you go and say nobody's supporting us because that just looks stupid. I'm just thinking what else. A major one, this is a major thing, is announcing a pre-order, for example, for a physical copy when you don't know when you're actually going to get them. So like this is tough with vinyl and tapes right now, and I know that. But
yeah,
if you have the exact date, but you're advertising the exact date, that can piss people off. And I'm not saying don't make pre-orders. I think you should still do pre-orders, but just let people know that the date could change is the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's just common courtesy, isn't it? Just keep people updated with what's going on.
Many people don't, though.
Well, I know. Yeah.
Not okay. Just as an aside, since you brought the subject up, and now I'm going to rant about this for like 2 seconds, and you can if you want to. Communication is always key with people. Like when you're doing any type of order, selling of anything, So like if someone buys something from you and you can't deliver at a certain time, make sure you tell the people what's going on, because otherwise people think you're ghosting them and are ripping them off. And even if you're not, and what happened is like, you know, you fell and broke your leg and you can't get the pre-orders out, find a way to tell people that you fell, you broke your leg and you can't get the pre-orders out. Do not ghost people. And because this happens all the time. I, for one, I bought something 2 months ago on Bandcamp from a band who I will not name, who still have not informed me when my order is going to ship. I'm annoyed about it. I haven't said anything to them about it, but to me, I'm like, does that mean I'm not getting it? I don't know. Right. And it's it can give you a bit of a bad rep. So if you ever sell something to someone, make sure that you're in communication with them, let them know when it ships, let them know if there's any delay with it, and just, you know, communication is key. You can talk about that for a second, Holly, before we wrap up.
Yes, I have a good example of this. There's a band who, like, the guy who was, you know, given the task of sending everything out, got COVID. So he did like a really big post on Facebook and Instagram and everything with all the parcels being like, you know, hey guys, it's all ready to go. I've got COVID. I'll be posting in 2 weeks. And that was great because it's like, okay, everyone knows what's going on. No one's mad about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's all sorted. So.
And if anybody does get mad about it, they're a bit of a dick, but I mean, it happens sometimes, but at least you're in communication. You're telling them what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. They're not getting mad because they don't know what's going on. They're just getting mad because they're weird.
Yeah. But the problem is though, most people are really bad at communication, but so I'm just bringing that back up again. Make sure you tell people what is going on. If Holly ever went out of communication with me for like 2 days, I'd probably go insane and think that she was like dead or something like that. I probably would. Now you're like, mental note to self, never go out of communication for 2 days.
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't anyway. What else do we want to talk about pre-orders before we wrap up, Holly?
Do we want to quickly go over pre-saves? Just the very basics of it, or?
You know about it. I don't really know much about pre-saves, so you go hard on this.
Okay, I mean, what I've mainly been looking at it for Spotify recently. I think you can do it for other platforms, but it seems that Spotify is the one that most people go for.
Yep.
So most distributors, I think, have a means of setting up the link, but I've actually been using the Smart URL one. So you just go to Smart URL's website. You have to create an account for a pre-order, but it's still free to do. And then they just ask you for your Spotify artist link and the song link of the one that you're wanting to pre-order. So you have to wait until Spotify has actually got your new release like on its system before you can do it, if that makes sense.
It does.
And then it will generate the link for you and you can share it around, and it seems to work.
Cool.
At least I think it's working. Our Spotify followers are going up, so I think that's a good sign.
That's a very good sign. Is there okay, what do you use in order to generate the pre-save link? I don't think you said.
Smart URL, it's called.
URL, okay.
Yeah.
Just clarifying there. Okay, anything else you want to bring up on that?
Probably worth mentioning. Yeah, the reason it's worth doing is obviously it's, you know, it means that people will get the song put in their library on the day it comes out. So it should hopefully boost your numbers. But it does seem that Spotify's algorithm takes into account how many pre-saves you have. Yep. So the more you have, the more favorable your profile is going to be, and things like that. So I think it's just worth giving it a go, and it might just push a bit.
So I just realized I don't think I've pre-saved your single. I'm pre-saving it right now. Okay. It is pre-saved. No, it is pre-saved. It looks like
you did it the other day because I sent you the link. Yeah.
You did. I thought for a second you hadn't, and then I was feeling bad, and now I don't have to feel bad anymore.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Also, while you were talking, I did look up. You can generate pre-saves for other platforms too. So Tidal, Tidal, for example, they said to go to feature.fm. You can try it. So I've never tried it, but apparently feature.fm, you can do Tidal at least. I don't know about Deezer or Apple Music or anything like that, but if anybody knows, let us know. What else do we want to cover on this, Holly, before I ask the question?
I think my main thing for this is just be prepared. Like if you can do the earlier you can get these things set up, the more time you've got to potentially get pre-orders coming in. So yeah, when you're planning a release date and everything, try and keep, you know, a couple of months ahead, so you've got time to set all these things up and get them working and stuff.
Perfect.
That is my advice for this.
And I think you should do it 30 to 60 days in advance minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So my final question to you, Holly, is, okay, so if you're willing to say, has it seemed to be, because you didn't do a pre-save campaign on the last album, right? Or did you?
No, I don't know if Spotify seems to do this thing that when you upload something for the first time, you don't have access to like the artist stuff anyway.
Yeah, I forgot you
It's a
didn't
bit
have,
annoying.
yeah, no, I forgot you didn't have music on there prior. So so you may or may not know the answer to this question, but do you think you've seen a visible increase in activity as a result of doing this, the pre-save?
So yeah, it's only been running for a few days, but we have had, you know, our following numbers are slowly climbing up, and we've had a few more listeners as well. So I don't know if that's to do with the PR campaign or if it's just because people are pre-saving and then thinking they'll listen to our stuff that's already there. I'm not sure, but it seems to be working.
Cool. All right. And do you have any final words before we end off?
If anyone knows more about this than we do, let us know. Because I think it'd be good to get some like deeper insights, because I am quite new to this really. So
yeah, just to clarify one more time, we're not the greatest at pre-saves, me and Holly, but we do know a little bit about the pre-orders. So take what we said about the pre-saves with a grain of salt. One person we could probably get on at some point that does know quite a bit about pre-saves, I just realized, is Monica Strutt. We could probably have her on at some point.
That'd be good. Yeah.
She is quite good with the pre-saves. So if you remind me one of these days, I will ask her to come on the podcast. With that, also pre-order or pre-save Holly's new track, Petrichor, I think is how you pronounce it. Petrichor, I fucked it up. It's really good song. Holly's on vocals. I think it's basically Holly.
It is basically me. I wrote it on Guitar Pro over lockdown in one of my many breakdowns, as you do. It's what every musician is doing at the minute, isn't it? And then yeah, so
cool.
Lots of and stuff.
It's available on Bandcamp as well, so it's going to cost you, I think, £1 if you buy it. Correct?
Yeah.
Cool. And you can also buy her previous album, Warring Elements, which is an EP. It's also on Bandcamp, or you can stream it. Pre-save the song if you haven't pre-saved the song. You just go to the Disconnected Souls Instagram and you can find how to do that, or where to pre-save it rather. And with that, we are done.